Before we begin, please be advised that this show may contain some adult themes and language that may not be suitable for all listeners. Now, onto our show. Wait, I gotta do the intro and then you can pop it. Hold on. Welcome to the Sippin Saga Society, where we cover histories, mysteries, and overall weird ass shit. My name is Karina, and joining us today we have our bestest friends, Christina and Nevada. Woo!
Hi.
And now, because Christina's been ready, Christina, what are you sipping?
I have one of the I think it's called Ray Moon, right? And it's like the little Japanese drinks where they have it's like the carbonated soft drink. It's a melon flavor, which is honeydew, and it has the little like marble in it. And so I don't know how well y'all be able to hear this, but I'm gonna
Put your
pop the
mic up
marble.
to it. Put your mic up to it.
Oh, I'm not strong enough.
Oh
Hold
my God,
on.
the pressure is
I work
on.
out for nothing. No, I'm kidding. Why can't I do this?
I'm not breathing for you.
I
Uh-oh.
literally,
Whoops.
oh, she broke it.
I broke it. Wait, oh,
Okay.
maybe I was supposed to pop it out. Okay, here we go. Ready?
I think you are. I haven't used one of those in forever.
Did y'all hear it?
Did,
That
did
was
it go in?
it. That
It
was
did it.
it. That was
Me,
it.
is it in?
Is it in?
How to be a man and to hear that and you're like all the way in? I would leave immediately.
Sometimes you don't know and you don't want to ask because you're
I would
like,
just I would just pack up my dog and leave.
Oh,
how is
that's
it?
good.
Oh, good. I
I
like
love
that.
like I've come to realize like anything like honeydew flavored, even
That's
like
good.
boba tea, it's good.
What's your favorite?
I've never
It's
tried it.
refreshing. It's very
Mm,
refreshing. It's good.
I'll have to try it. All right. Nev?
Oh fuck, I am drinking something. Uh Tea tonic. It's I love my gut.
Oh, nice.
Another herbal tea tonic. It's spice chai. This one's not as good as the last one
Ooh.
I had, though.
Oh,
Oh, that's a bummer.
I love
Not
my gut too.
not chai enough, I'll say.
Oh, I like chai. I like chai, honestly.
I'd still give it a 6, but I'm good.
Sad. So today I am drinking an old fashioned for our fun story about our friend Elizabeth Packard, who was locked up in the asylum. This is part two of our Elizabeth story. Because it's these old-fashioned ideas are what is getting her in trouble. I amused myself with that one. Anyway, our reference book is The Woman They Could Not Silence by Kate Moore, and also the Desert Flower Foundation, which I used as a resource. Okay, I'm gonna drink first though.
Give us your rating.
And sorry, it's a bourbon-based drink, and I got a pre-mixed cocktail. I don't remember what the brand is, but it comes in a cute little glass bottle. So, I saw it and I was like, old-fashioned, and I feel lazy and I don't want to do anything. So, pre-mixed cocktail it is. Okay, but this week we will continue the story of Elizabeth Packard and the psychiatry of the 1800s. Yay. When we last left Elizabeth, her husband Theophilus had just left her at the Jacksonville Insane Asylum. She had met the superintendent, Andrew McFarland, and deemed him a man truly made in God's image. Elizabeth refused to admit that she was insane or submit to Theophilus's rule, thus she had to find a way to get out of the asylum and not get back into Theophilus's, like, care. I don't know. Women were like property here.
She said, "Don't send me back to that
She
guy."
didn't
She's like,
she had to admit that she was insane or and get sent back to Theophilus. And she was like, I'm not crazy. I should be able to be my own woman. So,
Big facts.
so
yes,
manipulation is going to be your top key here.
exactly.
Okay.
Elizabeth's initial plan was to convince Dr. McFarland that she wasn't insane and needed to be free. She was a model wife and mother. Luckily, McFarland was one of those psychiatrists who had begun to question moral insanity, and which we covered in the last part, which is basically like, you're obviously not following the status quo. You must be morally like insane.
Hmm.
Elizabeth and Dr. McFarland were both fascinated by each other, though. When he wrote to Theophilus, he described her as a fine mind and brilliant imagination. They would have private one-on-one meetings in her private room.
Was that
Eliz
oral?
I don't know. They just would talk,
Mm-mm.
supposedly.
Okay. So
This is like
Could
18.
oral.
you could you imagine Theophilus like reading this? Like, oh, he thinks she's smart. Like,
Smart.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
he's probably like
Ugh.
scoffing because like he wants her to be, that.
He just wants to be smarter than literally an ant, and he can't because he's never gonna do anything. He's a
I mean,
potato
look at
person.
him. He
Yeah,
drinks
Literally look at
literally.
him.
in tap water. Come on.
Ugh. Elizabeth was entranced to finally meet a man who would listen to her and give her permission to speak her mind. Throughout,
Permission.
yes, I know, as we
Okay.
need.
Big
Throughout her
yikes.
marriage, she had felt dampened, strangled in silence. So this new permission to speak felt like magic. He slowly took possession of my womanly heart. Okay. She also took strength from her friends on Seventh Ward, so that's the ward that they sent her in. And it was like the best one. I mean, if you're gonna get
Oh,
sent, and it's
oh
like all
yeah.
upper class white women.
Okay.
Elizabeth was given permission to hold a prayer circle, which became a source of comfort and support with at least 12 women in attendance every time.
Magic.
I know. Even the women in the lower wards would call her name through the window when she would walk out in the grounds. Although Elizabeth had never walked those wards, they would tell her in whispers through the windows of the horrors and abuses they had been subjected to by the staff.
Oh.
Elizabeth felt that their claims were hard to believe, but she would listen and suggest that they report their complaints to McFarland. He is our friend. And the women claimed they could not trust McFarland because he didn't care about them and would punish them by sending them to the lower wards. She thought those women must be truly insane and those were just hallucinations of a diseased mind.
Can I say something?
Yes.
This is like similar to the idea of like privilege, right? Like
Yeah.
she's just like, I'm not gonna believe you because my privilege sits here and he's infatuated with me. So he would never do that.
Well, again, if they're treating me okay, how,
Yeah.
you know, you must be lying because they're treating me fine. I'm doing good. The next day, she was told by her attendants that she wasn't allowed to talk to the lower ward patients anymore. Elizabeth was confused. Christina, why wouldn't she be allowed to talk to the women? Although she still trusted McFarland, she decided to, quote, become the eyes and ears of the hospital, a witness to the atrocities that McFarland had allowed to happen and report them to the world. She was rattled. All her friends appeared sane, but maybe they had been recovered because they'd been treated by the doctor. I said,
Okay.
denial is a river, and also the way Elizabeth's mind works.
Yeah.
That tongue must have been good. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Honestly, I don't even think she gets that, like truly, but whatever.
Let's, let's be real. So,
The attendants would keep order in the asylum through fearful punishment and unreasonable restrictions. They exhibited extraordinary surveillance and control on all the patients in the hospital. They would control when they woke, slept, ate, bathed, changed their underwear, and their menstrual cycles were monitored and their hair cut against their will. The rules
Jeez.
themselves were enough to drive a sane person crazy. Even crying was an issue to the attendants and would tell the women, you can't go home until you stop fretting.
oh my
And
God.
also, this is the best one. If you were truly sane, you would want to stay here until you're better.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I
Yeah.
want to be a prisoner. No, no.
Women on the Seventh Ward were even told that they couldn't go home until they stopped crying and talking about their children.
Oh, I'd be in trouble.
I know.
They'd be
Ev-
like, "Girl, you got to stay here. You're not. You're. I'm such an easy crier. I wouldn't make
Never
it."
gone. Never gone.
Yeah.
Every natural emotion should be stifled. They lived behind the mask of good manners, polite smiling, and calm chatter about nonsense. it just like that of just like bullshit, nothing mattered. Just like we're all just real quiet and we sit here and we do what we're supposed to do. They were often sent to solitary confinement for violence, mischievousness, being dirty, and bad language. Elizabeth became the confidant, friend, counselor to the women, and when
I
women
don't
did
trust her.
Elizabeth,
I don't trust her right now.
when
Yeah,
women
me neither.
when women did approach McFarland with complaints, he seemed indifferent and would walk away.
See, see,
See, I would have went up to him.
excuse
I would have
me.
been like, Elizabeth told me to come and talk to you about it. So what are you gonna do?
Oh my God.
Insane.
He's
Rude.
crazy.
I don't like him. I hope
Yeah, I
he
don't
dies.
either.
I don't know what happens to him. I still haven't finished the book.
Well,
No.
he's dead now.
He is dead. You're not wrong. He's definitely not alive. Elizabeth noted all the doctor's behaviors and noted that even though they were here in this place and they weren't free to do much, they were still free to think, and she's going to make the most of it.
Hell yeah. Okay. She's winning me
Elizabeth
over.
Elizabeth tried really hard to make a difference in the ways that she could. She would appeal to the attendants to be kinder and even became friends with them. Eventually, some of the attendants became convinced that Elizabeth was not insane and stated that they knew she was being falsely imprisoned.
Good.
But
Because
also
she is.
being, yeah, I know. She literally is. She's just like, I thought too hard and the law won. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
She's just living. Being an attendant was a struggle. They worked 10 hours a day with approximately 15 patients in their care. When I was a CNA, that's how it was. Terrible. They lived in-house and earned less than shoemakers and woodworkers, with the female attendants even earning less. They were young, poor, and ill-educated. They wanted the asylums wanted smarter people, but smarter people weren't applying for these jobs because they paid nothing.
It checks out, honestly.
Yeah, but they were nowhere to be found, so, obviously. So the unworthy may frequently be found instead of the smart people. And often people were so hard to find to work at the hospitals that they would recruit convicts still serving jail sentences to come work in the asylum.
That's
What?
wild.
Yeah.
Sounds like America, though.
I wish I had the This is America. Take a she's slipping. You know that song.
Yep.
I like that song.
I do too.
I need to figure out how to add stuff so I can be like, let me play it. Blam. Anyway, Elizabeth noted that there was not actual treatment being given, with only the only treatment ever seen was a little ale or maybe laying of hands on people. So just,
Laying hands, like prayer, or like beating
yeah,
somebody up.
just
I was
laying,
gonna say just like
just throw hands,
laying
y'all.
hands, yeah.
Laying hands in the prayer way.
I
Okay.
don't know if I'd want someone on me like that. I'd be like, ugh, you can just stand there,
Get
like you don't gotta
away.
touch me, yeah.
You could just let me the fuck out,
You could just go
idiot.
Yeah.
home. McFarland thought that McFarland's thought was that his patients needed no active treatment. This was a normal concept at the time, and often due to overcrowding was the only real option. Worker to patient ratio was too high for anything past basic survival.
Wait. So they're here to be treated, but we're not actually going to treat them.
Then
Really?
why the fuck am I here?
Excuse me. Make it make sense. It doesn't.
It
It
doesn't.
doesn't,
This is a
not one
terrible
bit.
system. There were lots of rules, high restraints, with the goal mainly to maintain order. European scientists did work on conducting experiments to better understand mental health, but Americans did not.
Do you know that my fear is being put into an asylum and like I'm saying, I don't belong here, and them just all being like, yeah, right, okay.
Anyway, that's the book we're reading. So,
This is my nightmare.
um, the next little bit is going to be a little bit hard to listen to because we're going to
Right.
talk about women and psychiatry and the treatment of women in psychiatry. So,
You're just gonna piss me off, is what it
I
sounds
was
I
like.
gonna
am,
say,
I
gonna make me
am.
sad.
We're gonna get sad together. So just if you're
Nev's
not
gonna be
there today,
angry.
if you're not there, just don't, skip it a little bit. Skip
Piss
like
me off.
a couple, like
I
maybe
can't skip
five
it.
minutes. No, you can't. Anyway, women's sexual organs were thought to be the cause of insanity, and often the treatments were focused on those. Treatments included ice water injections into
Are
orifices, leeches attached to labia or clitoris, caustic chemicals applied to genitals, or vaginal exams with a speculum.
so okay, let's be clear that like certain people do have like PMDD, so it does cause like specific types of things, like dysfunctions or whatever.
Some
But
of
you're
us do. Yeah.
yeah, hi, it's me. You
Same.
too?
Yeah, it's
Cool.
bad.
It's not great. It's the worst. But you're telling me that people are doing genital mutilation and also all of this other insane shit. That's infuriating. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah, I
infuriated.
can't imagine how terrible that was. Like,
It's gonna get sadder. Dr.
okay.
Isaac Baker Brown was a senior surgeon of London Surgical Home. He published a book on the concept of curing a woman from insanity by cutting the clitoris in a harmless operation. The book gave credibility to an already in use practice. The practice was deemed necessary because they felt the clitoris was the cause of insanity. They would use scissors or a knife to cut it down to the base, and I said, because now they can find it, apparently. Rapid improve. I needed like some levity
Some
anyway.
kind of
I
humor. Yeah,
needed to
yeah,
help
yeah, yeah.
myself.
Oh,
Rapid improvement was noted after the procedure. I'm sure it was because like I would be empty as a person. There's
Oh
yeah.
no,
my,
I
I would be
mean,
dead inside. Like, what the fuck?
are you fucking kidding me?
Mm. Okay, so do you remember we were talking and you were like, I wouldn't mind being in an asylum because vibrators. And I was like, Nev, I'm in a part of the book that this is not funny. This was what I was reading, and I was like, I was like, no, you don't want to be in the asylum. I was so stressed. Anyway,
That
that's
is
that's why I was like,
terrifying.
no, no, stay out.
You take my clitoris, I take your entire package.
The whole thing.
The whole thing, I'm cutting it right off. Who's laughing now, motherfucker?
That's true. Honestly, yeah, I think if I went to the asylum and came back home, and if I went to the asylum because my husband sent me there, and then they cut it off, and then now I'm the problem. No, you're losing everything.
I'm about to be the fucking problem, motherfucker.
You're gonna see a problem.
Don't worry, I
Okay.
know how to cook.
Oh God.
Cook it up and eat it.
Oh my God, Nev, stop. Okay.
Just just for principle. Just for principle at this point.
Just for science. It cured the distaste for marital intercourse somehow.
Oh, did
Dis
it?
yeah.
Cured
Did
the
it?
distaste for society and cured the distaste for the husband. Women became good wives after this, and it became the alternative to separation of man and wife. Brown was eventually expelled by the obstetrical
OBGYN.
society, the OB part Society of London, not for this practice, just for doing it without consent. So not because he was doing this, just because he just wasn't asking if he could.
Well, you know
You
what?
shouldn't be doing it anyway. Ugh.
At
Exactly.
least they were like, hey, I know what consent is, and that's wrong. You're not getting consent. At least we
Listen,
have
I know one thing, maybe, and
maybe, and
it's
you should get
consent.
consent. Consent is sexy. Thank you.
hmm
And you're
They were
wrong.
like, we have one standard, and it's this. Were performed to correct emotional disorder as late as the 1940s.
Oh, that
Are
doesn't
you
seem very long
fucking
ago.
Because
Yeah.
it's not. It's like not even. My grandmother was born in 1946. She's not even 80 years old.
I was going to tell you this last part, but it's very sad. Now I'm sad again. Anyway, female genital mutilation still happens to this day, with up to
Yeah.
200 million women affected worldwide, according to the World Health Organization.
As young as
Although, I
12
mean,
years old.
little. Well,
Like,
I mean, although it primarily happens in Africa, it does take place in the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and America. Female genital mutilation has serious side effects, including severe bleeding, infections, tetanus, paralysis, death, along with psychological trauma and loss of sexual sensation.
They're still doing it here in America?
Yeah,
For
they do it
what?
everywhere because it's like religious reasons.
I don't know. I don't agree with any type of genital mutilation.
I mean,
Yeah.
same. I fully agree. So, but I did feel like it was important to talk about because, like, we need to know that these things happen.
And it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I mean there's a lady on TikTok that talks about her like her experience and what she went through as a
Mhm.
kid. And she like openly talks about it and I'm like that's so brave. Like
I
I can't even imagine.
I accidentally deleted it because I thought it was banned and then they decided it wasn't banned. So now I can't re-download TikTok.
I deleted it because I just couldn't do it. I was done with all of
Yeah.
it.
Fair.
Apparently it's just an Apple thing too.
Oh, that's
Um,
stupid.
that from what Zach told me, like he because he said like there's other people, I guess, whatever. I like
Mhm.
um but I don't know. Yeah, I deleted it too because I was just like, honestly, I don't
I'm
want to
not
I'm
gonna
t
look at
I'm
it.
done with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done with all this fucking bullshit, honestly. And then it was just a
Mm.
fucking political ploy. And
Exactly. I think
I'm
that's what pissed me off the most. I was like, I'm not this isn't worth it right now.
mm-mm.
Anyway. So yeah, that was a thing that was happening in most of the asylums, but McFarland really didn't like to do those. He
Good.
primarily used
Okay.
drugs. He loved to give everyone drugs.
I like a man who likes to give me drugs.
Depends on the drugs.
Depends on the man.
All of it. Depends on all of it. So he
Wow.
primarily used drugs to control his patients, spending $749 biannually. And today that would be about $23,000.
Jeez.
Holy
And
fuck.
he bought opium, blue mass, which was a mercury based medicine, which I was like, oh, so we're
Uh-oh.
making them crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
An arsenic, quinine, and port wine mix.
Just
What
give
is
me
it?
the cocaine, dude. What the
And
fuck?
also cannabis.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
That
That's
yeah,
it. Yeah,
I
I
was
was
like,
gonna say
okay,
that's the one.
I could be in the asylum for this. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
No, I don't want my clitoris touched.
No, I would be in the wrong asylum too. And I'd be like, God damn it, I thought I was in the one with the edibles.
Give me a lobotomy and call it a fucking day. Leave my
Leave me
clitoris alone.
alone. Just give me chocolate and leave. Meds were untested with the doctors using them themselves to figure out how they worked.
It's a social experiment at this point.
Yeah, because it's like there's not FDA or anything. There's like nobody telling you, oh yeah, we tested these drugs. It was like we found this and maybe it
That's
works.
good. You can't test it on them yet. You got to test it on yourself first.
How do you know if it works? They primarily use chloroform on boisterous women. So I'm not
Ooh,
saying I would be chloroformed like
I would.
24/7, but probably
Close to,
at least
honestly.
like half the day.
At least 18 hours for sure.
Chloroform.
Not counting the time you need to eat.
Yeah, no.
He would probably do it to me because I was crying too much.
Yeah, that would literally be Christina. They'd be like, she literally would not stop. Like, I don't know
all
how
sh
she's not dehydrated.
all she does is weep.
Honestly, yeah, though. Like, if I was away from my kids, like, I can't even go to dinner. I start missing the dogs. So I literally can't even imagine if I had a child.
Mm-mm.
I would just lose it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Hmm.
Dude, literally, me and Diana were talking about getting dinner the other night, and she literally looked at me and she goes, "What time?" Because she's like, "I know that we both like being home by
Yeah.
like 8 o'clock." And I'm like, "Yeah,
I mean, yeah, everyone has the things that matters to them. And like,
yeah, yeah,
I
At
love that.
least you have a friend that gets it too, though,
Uh-huh.
yeah."
Ugh. Okay. Elizabeth's firstborn son, Toffee, eventually did visit his
Oh,
mom. I know.
that's so
Excuse
cute.
me? Oh,
That is so
Toffee.
cute.
I just think of candy.
I know. That's every single time. It had been months since her friends had visited, and he had pledged to protect her and came to see her. He said, "You are not insane, but the same kind mother as ever."
Aw.
But
Aww.
technically, he was still a child. He was 18 years old, basically a newborn, and he was 3 years too young to be considered a man and able to do
What?
something. Yeah. So he couldn't do
What?
anything. It's not like he could like take over as her guardian or anything. Just,
What? I thought 18 was the year, like the age where you can
I
like
think you had to
vote.
be, well, yeah, but I don't think that's always been the case. This was in 1860.
What?
Mm-hmm.
But women can be married off at 14.
I mean, women aren't even people, so
Yeah, I guess they're
Yeah.
just cattle. Forget that.
literally. Um,
We're not
but
even real. Not the clouds, not us, not
nobody,
birds, nothing.
nothing. Mm-mm. But before her son left the asylum, he vowed to help get her out. Elizabeth noted that nobody really got many visitors in the asylum, so the only community available to the patients were other patients. Elizabeth's prayer group was comfort not just to her, but to the other women of Seventh Ward. One day, a woman took Elizabeth aside and warned her, "If you ever wish to get out of here, you must give up your morning prayer group." But she would not do that.
Oh, damn, dude.
The weeks went by, with Elizabeth continuing to be the favorite of the asylum. One day, on her walk, she noticed that they had built a fence outside of the lower ward windows, and the fence made her suspicious because it was literally just so that she would not look in and see them, I guess. One day, on her visit to McFarlane's office, she noticed that he had a letter from her son on his desk. And she knew it was her son's letter because she could see it, like she knew how her kid wrote, you know?
Yeah.
And when she tried to grab it, he snatched it back and refused to give it to her. And so this is when she started to realize, like, oh my God, maybe this guy is like censoring and not giving me my letters.
This motherfucker.
The obvious censorship of her mail made her even more suspicious, and she felt his words could no longer be trusted. Which I'm kind of like, Elizabeth, why are you so trusting of literally anybody? Your
Yeah.
husband
Um,
put you in the asylum. Like, trust no one.
literally.
Honestly, if Evan put me in the asylum, I would never try. I would be so cynical. Like, I'm already lightly cynical anyway, and
Hmm.
I would lose it. Trust no one. He would make a point of asking her,
What are you about to say, dude?
Asking her
Serena,
what?
"Who are your friends? Have you any in
Hmm.
the world?"
are you
And
what?
all she would say is, "It is hard to be forgotten." So he'd be like, "Nobody loves you."
She's like, I'm iconic, actually. Shut the fuck up.
Yes. I'm Elizabeth, actually. I'm pretty great. She knew he was hiding her son's letters, which meant he was probably keeping her isolated on purpose. And
Yeah.
she wasn't wrong. His goal was to completely isolate the patients from their families so he could step into that void and take advantage of their loneliness.
Oh, so he's a predator.
Yes, he's a predator.
He didn't
He,
have to do that with her. She liked him anyway.
I know.
It
And he's
doesn't
like, "You don't
matter.
have
He's
anybody. It's just me."
Oh, Lord.
He would be the dominant and good spirit in his patient's life. He wanted to
gross.
control their living, shape of their lives, control everything, including their thoughts.
Just get a wife.
He does have a wife. He has like a
Then
wife and kids.
what the fuck, my guy?
Yeah. And he has like every patient in the asylum. That's why they're not getting treated because this guy's too busy fucking conning Elizabeth. Elizabeth
His
continued to feel
muse.
dependent on McFarlane even after suggesting that he would hide letters from her. They had been physically close often, including at dances. The asylum had dances, but the women could only dance with attendants and doctors. Like they couldn't
Girl,
dance with
what?
other patients.
Girl, what? No, because that's gay. We can't have any of that.
Could you imagine? I know you just cut off my clit, but come on. Let's go off to the dance floor.
I honestly, okay, so the reason I decided to do this story was because this was another one that I was like, at every turn, something new is happening, and I don't understand what world we're living in. Like,
This
It's
is
a different
also
roller coaster than the rugby team. This
also
is a
homegirl. He's giving you all of the red flags, and you're like, he is definitely courting me right now. And you're still like, he's my most trusted advisor. I trust him even more. Girl, what?
he's been hiding my kids' letters, but I'm still really into him. A little weird though.
How big was
Yeah,
the penis? I don't
I
know.
don't
Like,
know. I don't
I
know.
don't know at this point. Like, good God,
I
no,
don't think
ma'am.
I don't know. I have some standards, you know. Elizabeth,
The fucking bar is
okay,
below hell at this point. Good
I know.
God. Oh my God.
Okay, so they'd been physically close at the dances, and While they were dancing, they had shunned formal dancing and found a dark corner to keep step in by themselves. She wrote this. This is like her for verbatim.
You also know that there are like he had spies because there's girls, for sure that wanted his attention. You know how
Oh,
it
for
works. And
sure.
so then they hated her. They were like,
Mm-hmm.
this bitch has this balding man, and I want him.
This holding.
Very specific, but okay. One day, McFarland kissed her on the forehead, and it got her thinking.
Oh,
She,
did it?
she would write a document. She would just write a document saying that she was sane, and then also another one disclosing the cruel nature of the asylum. It had been 4 months, and she had had enough. She was done with being there. Literally in the book, she's like, I thought this was like, I stay here overnight, and then Theophilus takes me home, and it's kind of like a hee hee.
He's like, I warned you, bitch.
Yeah,
Don't do it again.
and it wasn't that. And she's like,
Ob-
I'm done being here. I'm over this shit. And she's done.
Wait,
Yes.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Did they cut off her clitoris?
No, they did not. That I
Oh,
know of.
Oh, she got lucky.
Hmm. No, McFarlane didn't like to do that. He liked to
oh, okay.
physically restrain them or give them drugs.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he was like, you know what? That's not cool. I wouldn't want my foreskin cut off.
Honestly, yeah,
The
maybe. I don't
doctor's like, it's Elizabeth's turn. McFarlane's like, no, not her.
not
Not
her.
her.
Well,
Not
she did
her.
have for a lot of it, she did have special treatment. For a while. She had
Yeah, I
special
remember
treatment.
that.
She like even had keys and she could like walk around. She'd leave the grounds
Yeah.
and do whatever she wanted. Um,
Did all
but
of that change one
it
day when
will.
the Fire Nation attacked?
Hmm. Or Elizabeth threatens him. Anyway,
Ooh, okay.
Ooh,
maybe.
ma'am.
Okay, where to go? Yes, they took formal dancing step by themselves. It's so weird. One day, McFarlane kissed her on the forehead, and it got her thinking. She would write a document proving her sanity and another disclosing the cruel nature of the asylum. It had been 4 months since she had had enough. She wrote her first letter and read it out loud in her prayer circle. Many women told her, "You have no idea of the doctor's power," and warned her not to show the letter to anyone else. And Elizabeth was like, nope. Elizabeth trusted McFarland, and she
Girl,
wanted to save him from his sins.
girl.
That
So
is not the move.
she took some heed and she copied her letters and then hid them in her room. She hid them behind her mirror.
I feel like
Like
I'm
took it out of the
watching,
st
I feel like I'm watching a horror movie and I'm screaming at the screen, don't go in there. He's
And
in
Elizabeth's
there.
like, "What? And go in there?"
Half naked, running through the woods. I'm gonna go in this door. No, but she does it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I can fix him.
Okay, but where?
Listen to me.
Okay.
Elizabeth.
So she took some Yeah, I know. Elizabeth, get your shit together. You're too smart for this. That's the frustrating part is like, girl, you're
Even the
too smart for
smartest,
this.
even the smartest girls with a crush, dumb,
Bro,
dumb as
it
a rock.
happens to the best of
Rose-colored
us.
glasses.
All
It
the us
happens.
Rose-colored, yeah.
No one gets out of life without that one person.
with some trauma for sure.
Uh-huh. Anyway, but she hid copies of her letters in her room. But she did present the letter to him on October 26th, 1860. She implored he release her as an independent woman. I shall not be guilty of the insane act of returning to such a protector as Theophilus. She
Okay.
asked McFarland for a job and just like let me work here and live here and just like do what I want to do. But did go on about how she felt that Theophilus was a perverted and unnatural man. And McFarlane would say later that her hatred of her husband had something diabolical about it. But also, if you locked me up in the fucking asylum, I'm not gonna talk about you nice.
I
Yeah.
You
would
know,
have resentment for sure.
for a while. Definitely
Forever.
4 months after you sent me there.
Oh, yeah.
She
And he
and then
never visited, did he?
no. Oh my God, why would he visit? Imagine, would she take on that visitor? Like what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't even try to visit your insane wife? Okay.
No, well, no, and they had kids, and he wouldn't let the kids go visit either. She ended her
Okay.
letter by imploring him to choose whom you serve, choose evil or choose good, which I'm like, okay, drama queen.
Okay,
Will you
Betsy.
choose evil or choose good? Days went by without any response from the doctor. She only had her letter and writings about the conditions at the asylum to depend on, with her friends telling her they would back her up if they needed to.
They
And
No,
like,
they would
better.
not.
I love
They
this like I love this plan for her and like I respect it, but like
don't trust anybody, bitch.
yeah, I don't okay.
Somebody's plotting for your downfall.
hmm Elizabeth went to McFarland's office to tell him what she had seen and the oppressive nature of the asylum. She told him that she had showed him her letter with the hope that he would reform before she went to the public.
The public doesn't care about women, girl. They'd be like,
Even a
oh,
sane
whoa.
person of sound mind and sound body would be made insane by the treatment here. She threatened to expose him publicly using testimony from herself and other patients, as well as staff, with one member of the staff stating, "Patients are treated so badly, I would never send my friends here for treatment." Elizabeth felt that maybe she was sent to the asylum to let the state see that Dr. McFarland has yet to learn the very alphabet of his profession.
So we're
Jeez.
insulting the man we're wanting to let us out. How is that going to serve us?
I know, I was like, I respect your balls, girl. Like, I get it. But, like, we're not thinking things through, I
You
think.
you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
no
yeah.
weapons in this course because you're still a woman in this society.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Big yikes,
I
Elizabeth.
appreciate her speaking her fucking mind though.
I respect
Yeah,
that for
yeah.
her. It doesn't help her, but yeah.
I check that checks out, honestly.
Mhm.
God, tell us what happens next. I'm ready. Maybe. I don't know.
He let her leave his office without any sign of
Oh.
anger. He just let her go. No, no, he didn't just release her and that's the end of the story.
I
My
was
God.
like, dang, that took no
No,
convincing.
she could leave the he didn't give her any expression. She just like left.
Oh, so he's a sociopath. That's cool. Love that for us.
He saw her women's right obsession as communicable with others, communicable to others. She
This
told
is what? This is my feminine rage. What?
she told him, "I want to respect and love you, but I cannot unless you exhibit some humanity."
Fair.
Fair.
I
Fair.
just am like, he doesn't care about you, girl.
He doesn't.
He
But it's just
doesn't
like, she's trying, and I respect that for her, but
let it go, let the man go.
literally, yes, let the man go, Elizabeth. It's not gonna work. Also, I
Ugh.
have two mason jars on my desk, and I'm like, what kind of life do I live?
Are you're cottage core as fuck, baby girl?
That's true. It's true. I just looked over, I'm like, how many cans are in here? Anyway. Anywho, afterwards, Elizabeth went back to her room and made sure her room and her hidden letters were extra well hidden. But after evening prayers, Elizabeth was stopped from returning to her room
I
by
bet she
Dr.
was.
McFarland. They walked about the hospital, and when they reached a heavy door, the smell was unbearable, and it reeked of unwashed bodies and waste.
You.
The walls were bare, with only hard benches lining the walls. The mattresses were made of husk with iron bed frames and no chairs, which I was like, why? Like, can't we sit? What? What?
No, no sitting for you.
Just the benches. Women screamed, fought, ran with rough, tangled hair and pitch black skin from dirt. They splashed through puddles of their own urine. When she turned to McFarland, he said, "You may occupy this ward." And then he slammed the door.
Oh my God.
So she went from 7 to 8, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Also to be expected.
I know. I was like, girl, you had too much faith in this man. Like, too much.
You gave all your power away. What
To
the
a
fuck?
man.
To a man. Mm-mm.
One of the attendants, Minnie, approached Elizabeth. So she asked, "What does it mean?" And she goes, "I don't know. All McFarland said to me was, 'I wish you not to allow Miss Packard to leave the ward.'" So Elizabeth had been sent to the 8th ward, the ward for maniacs, as the ladies of the 7th ward had called it. She no longer had her private room, but was sent to a dormitory. The scent permeated her being as she entered the room. There were 6 beds and little else inside. The straw mattresses were not fresh, and the smell was overpowering. Christina, your face really tickled me. You're like, ooh.
Oh,
But also,
yeah.
yeah. She was handed a bucket, and the attendant left for the night. And it took Elizabeth a second before she realized that the bucket was for peeing in because she wasn't allowed to leave the room.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Elizabeth began to pray, although she felt it difficult to think of anything but vengeful feelings towards the doctor, which, mhm,
Rightfully so. Honestly, girly
Yeah.
pop,
yeah.
same.
Elizabeth began to pray, although she found it difficult to think of anything but vengeful feelings towards the doctor. One girl told her to pray out loud, which I was like, that's so threatening. So Elizabeth began to pray for God to forgive the doctor. Bridget,
Out
another
loud.
girl in the dormitory, interrupted her to say, "Let Dr. McFarland bear his own sins."
Ooh, this girl
She
said,
said,
fuck that
don't
dude.
pray for him. Yeah.
Uh-huh. The women here were not the paper dolls of the Seventh Ward. They were laced with human passions and seething hate. They spent their time screaming, shouting, loving, hating, and would not be silenced. The women cried all night long, and some screamed and cursed their husbands that had sent them there. Some
Good.
sobbed for their children, and some prayed. Elizabeth realized the all encompassing power of the doctor. She thought McFarland was her protector, and now he had proved his power was absolute over her, just like her husband, and she could trust no man. She lay in her bed, wide awake, feeling friendless, voiceless, and hopeless. It was the blackest night of my existence. And I was
Oh,
like,
That's real sad.
the next day, Elizabeth had gained strength from her favorite quote: "Duties are ours, events are God's." There was no point in dwelling in the darkness. Her duty was to focus on what she could do practically, here and now, to honor her God and her principles. She did what she could to improve the conditions of the patients in whatever way she could. McFarlane was obviously not going to change anything.
yeah.
Also, McFarlane was known to be literally the cheapest. I might cover it later, but like he ran it cheaply. He did everything as cheap as he could. Like he cut corners, like didn't give them any comforts. He didn't care that they were cold. He didn't give a shit. He saved money wherever he could. So he was not a good person.
That fucking checks out.
Yeah.
McFarlane was obviously not going to change anything, and what she told him what she felt now was that she needed to prove that her words were more than mere empty bubbles. So when she was saying, "I want change," she was like, "You're not going to do anything. I'm going to make the change. The only way I can carry my own sorrows is to carry the sorrows of others." And I was like, that's so
Um,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Sticker. No, I'm just kidding. But it is really pretty. Like, I really
it's very
like,
poetic.
I, especially right now in the world, because
Yeah.
I do feel like there's a lot of days where it can feel like we are literally stuck in this asylum together. And
Yeah.
it's just like, if I can be there for my neighbor, you know.
Yes.
Elizabeth noticed in the sunlight that there were some who were called the filthy insane, those who were
What?
known for smearing their beds, heads, and faces with excrement.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm crazy, but not like that. But you know what? Don't push me.
We never know.
Never
The
know.
attendants were too busy to really do much about this, and Elizabeth blamed McFarland.
Good.
The moment when the dormitory door opened, she wandered out with her chamber pot, filled it with soap and water, and then began to clean the exceedingly filthy patients of the Eighth Ward. Many
Aw.
were scared and not used to washing, which, like, yeah, no one's cleaning you and you're just like hanging out. Um, the hall had a single basin for all the patients to use, just one, and one tub. She persevered her in her efforts, even when they screamed and struggled against her care. Damn. She's
Oh.
like, "You're getting a bath."
Yeah.
Me with my dog.
Uh-huh.
You don't
Exactly.
smell good. You need to be clean.
Yeah.
Exactly. Some even let her massage and clean their hair.
Aw.
McFarlane made his way into the ward and was noticeably shocked by the condition of the patients. They were so clean he couldn't recognize them. Elizabeth continued her mission as the days went on, even with the attendants providing her with warm salt water, Castile soap, towels, and cloths, so they were like helping her out. She bathed every single patient in the hall, working one woman at a time, stripping off their bedraggled clothes and hand sponging every part. She was always kind, regardless if they were rude, violent, or calm. And eventually, the two attendants of the ward joined her in cleaning the patients and the ward itself. They cleaned the walls, refilled and resewed the mattresses, and so like everything was clean and fresh.
Oh.
And it says by the time that they were done with all of that, it was like already time to start cleaning everybody again. Like,
Oh,
damn. So they this is all they did. They would just clean everybody.
oh wow.
Elizabeth became friends with the attendants on the ward, and eventually they treated her like a sister. She found out through them that McFarlane had gone to her room after her leaving the eighth ward, and he searched through her possessions and then sent her stuff to the luggage room. One of the attendants, Minnie, took her to the luggage room and helped Elizabeth get her stuff from the box, including a sewing kit, Bible, and even a chair. So then she could hang out in the hallway and sit in her chair.
Aw.
Elizabeth tried to be as kind and brave as possible, but every day weighed on her. The nightly screaming from the different patients kept her awake night after night, and eventually she would beg McFarland for a private room. But before she even finished her sentence, he was already gone. Slowly, Elizabeth's regularly enjoyed privileges were taken away, so she was no longer allowed to walk the grounds, and she even lost her riding privileges. Mine was the only pen he feared among the patients, and she considered this an honor.
Good. She should.
While I have been here and seen and felt these horrors in my own soul, I have been led to exclaim, is there a God? Can a just God behold and see these horrors and let them go on? And it became harder and harder for Elizabeth to bounce back to her hopeful self. She started to believe that McFarlane was trying to make her a maniac. Even in her darkest moments, Elizabeth realized her strength and resilience, and it was in that she will always stand up for the oppressed. And so, like, she was like even contemplating, ending her life because she was feeling so miserable. And she
Yeah.
goes, and she like believed in her faith so much. She was like, well, God said, don't kill someone, and I am someone, so I can't kill
Oh,
myself.
Yeah.
And so she just, tried to make it. But her feelings for McFarland had changed while she was in the Eighth Ward.
well, good.
She would dread the sound of his footsteps and turn away when he entered the dormitories. She wanted to make her life in Eighth Ward count, and so she saw the restraints used on patients, including straitjackets, screen rooms, rooms for solitary confinement with iron screens stretched across the windows, which I'm like, I feel like I need to see a picture. Sounds weird. Crib bedsteads, which were wooden boxes with barred sides, so like a crib, wrist
And
wraps, muffs, and mittens.
so you know the chain link fences that they use for like closing
Mm,
places in malls, like the
yeah.
individual malls. I wonder if
Hmm.
it looked like that.
Maybe. So like they could see a little out, but not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds weird to me. Luckily, the Jacksonville women were not subject to to other restraints at the time. So they would use like the mitts to cover their hands or the straitjackets and stuff, but they wouldn't use like there was one called the scold's bridle. So it's a metal muzzle with an iron bit that would be
Yeah.
placed on the woman's tongue to stop her from speaking.
Yeah.
So if she tried to talk, it would pierce her tongue.
Tongue. Yeah. I've
Ah.
seen those. Those are horrifying.
They're
They used to
literally, it literally looks like a cage for your face.
they used to use
Oh.
them to parade women around too, like people's wives that like would speak up against them, they would put them on them and then they would make them walk around town like that. So like as a warning to other women to keep their mouths shut.
I wish
I,
it wouldn't be me, but it would.
it would be me, unfortunately. So I feel
Ugh.
you.
Typically, more women than men were put in restraints. Elizabeth noted that it wasn't necessarily the aggressive patients who were in restraints, but more those who stepped out of line in more like a punishment for like going against the rules.
Mm,
The more she saw, the more she was driven to expose the realities of the asylum. She came up with a journal as an eyewitness report on the daily events. So she wasn't allowed to have paper or like anything to read and write. So she would steal like newspapers from people, or like she would go sewing and then steal like scraps of paper she would find. And she would take the newspapers from those who were allowed to have newspapers and then write in the margins. And she began to sneak tissue paper, brown paper, and scraps of cloth so she could keep records of what she was seeing every day. Because she was like, oh, I'm telling everybody about this.
Yeah. Good girl. I love
Mm.
you. Resilient.
She said, woman is too volatile and spiritual a being to be kept down by mere brute force. You can cage a bird and keep her down, but give her use of her powers, freedom, and she will rise.
Hell
Like her
yeah.
quotes are so good. I love her. She's like, I will not back down. Elizabeth Light, oh, Christina, what was that? It scared me.
Sorry, my on my laptop, my phone is also connected to it, and
Mm,
so I was getting a FaceTime.
that makes sense. Elizabeth's light shone across the asylum, even to the wards she had never been to. We banded together in secret societies. So this different ward that she wasn't even in started like rioting, and they planned
Ooh.
various strategies, devised plans, and fought to no longer endure the reign of terror any longer. Every patient worked to cause hundreds of dollars of damage to the ward. They smashed everything, shredded all fabric and utensils, like, and threw them out the window. They
Hell
shredded pillows
yeah.
outside and they watched them as they floated across the grounds because they were full of like feathers. And one of the girls was like, I dreamed it was me that was flying free across the path.
Oh,
And I was like,
poor girl.
no. Anyway, eventually, their protest worked and they were allowed to walk the grounds again, receive visitors, and were shown amnesty for all that they did. Because they were like, fine, we'll treat you like people-ish. McFarlane believed that Elizabeth suffered from intellectual delusion. She had clearly shown her perverse conduct. Why else would she want to live apart from her husband? It's weird. He had cut her off and removed her to the Eighth Ward because she was a bad influence on the other women.
Oh,
Her
was
rabble
she?
rousing, spreading of discontent and disaffection, and her overall influence was frightening. McFarland wanted to prove that Elizabeth was crazy, so he waited for the right opportunity to get it.
I hate him.
He's the fucking worst. In his letters to Theophilus, he mentioned she was as unyielding as ever.
Mm, okay.
Me too, Elizabeth. Elizabeth felt that every hope hung on the book that she was writing and felt inspired by the positive protests on the other ward. So, like, to get Elizabeth to write, he was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to publish your book. So he tricked her.
And she trusted him again.
She's so fucking dumb. I feel bad for her, like, genuinely, but I'm like,
It's like that one friend that you're just like, stop going back
stop
to
doing
him.
this.
Why are you doing this? We've talked about this.
And she
What the
keeps
fuck?
doing it.
And you're just
And
like,
then, whose house are you at right now?
I have you on
McFarland
360,
again?
dude.
No. Anyway, she spent 3 years in the asylum, and in that time, McFarland allowed her to write again because he was trying to get proof.
3 years? We went from 4 months to
To
three
three
years.
years. I sped up the book. So if you
Girl,
read it, there's more details. There's like more in there.
girl.
There was more to the story. I just had to cut it down. Anyway, he
Ah.
promised her he would publish her novel while encouraging her to write more.
Oh, I'm sure. And
Elizabeth,
she
in a
trusted
state
him.
of desperation, this was her only chance to get out.
I
She
feel him,
decided to offer
honestly.
McFarlane the only thing she had left to offer,
And
her heart.
stop.
Herv, this book is dearer to me than my reputation, and I felt unwilling and do still to lay down. She felt willing and do still to lay down my life for this book and her reputation. And also, she was a very religious woman, so for her to like offer, like, she wrote him a letter, my true friend. Okay, she wrote him this letter, and it goes, my true friend, I have never seen a man before I saw you to whom my whole womanly nature could pay homage. I love your spirit, but I must not love your person so long as the love is claimed by another woman, because he's married. I know this is a bold step for me to take, but if you are a true man, it won't offend you. I wish to no one I wish no one to know of this act. Yours, Elizabeth. I very much abridged this story, but basically she was like, "Hey, if you love me, you can have me, but only when we get to heaven because you're married, so we can't do anything right now." But so she wrote him this love letter and was like, "Burn it when you're done reading it." And I
Okay.
was like,
Girl, what?
"But what
This is
else did you?" I know.
what is that? Stockholm syndrome?
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. It's like she didn't have anything else. She didn't have money, so she was like trying to bribe him with love.
I guess.
So she handed him the note and he did not respond for a few days, and then one day he offered his right hand to her and their
Oh,
fingers slid together side by side. Then he bowed and walked away. She felt as if he had accepted the terms of her letter. I feel weird about it because I'm like, okay.
that's not a
And
real
also like
confirmation.
I exactly, there's nothing in writing
It's a situationship, my friend.
at most. And also like he just held her hand.
Interesting.
I've never come up to someone and just like not said a word, just I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
no,
that's how I'm
no.
gonna greet you when I see you next, Christina. Just me.
I forgot my words. He's a man
Ugh.
of little words.
Oh, I know. He's so annoying. I cannot stand him. I knew he was annoying from the beginning. Like, we all knew, but like he was like slightly hot, so I was like hopeful. Anyway, so he offered her her hand and she was like, "Yeah, this man is it wants this." So there was a trustee meeting. So the board who decides who was going to be released or not had a meeting. And at this point, Elizabeth's been here so long and has gone through so many of these meetings that she's like, I don't even think I'm ever going to leave, so it doesn't fucking matter. Um, but this time, Elizabeth's case was reviewed and she was ordered to be discharged after June 19th, 1863. McFarlane had proposed that the board discharge her as the only means of getting rid of an intolerable, unendurable source of annoyance. In later years, he would release homicidal patients who he believed at any time would commit the same crime. But he felt Elizabeth was more insane than even they were. And he had given her permission to write whatever she wished and all that paper that she needed as a rope to hang herself with. She was too convincing in asserting her insanity to others, too eloquent, too compelling. And he read her book to the board of trustees and considered her absurd and childish. He never had any intention of letting her publish her book. They mostly focused on the fact that it had taken him 2 years, though, to justify her insanity. Like, you just now figured it out? It took you this long to prove she was crazy? Like, it's funny because I feel like he's like, I have this really great case, and they're like, it took you, it's been like 2 years, man. What the fuck? Like, you know.
No.
McFarland decided to help Theophilus with his new plan to send Elizabeth to a different hospital. And this one would never release her. Like it was a hospital that would take literally anybody. You didn't even need to have proof. Like they just took anybody and they never let them leave. On the morning of June 18th, an attendant came into her room to gather her and her things. Theophilus was on his way to take her away, and she was dressed when they came in without knocking and dragged her stuff out. And she once again refused to walk herself to an unjust prison and made them carry her to the little carriage.
Feels true to character.
Mm-hmm. McFarland wasn't even at the asylum that day. He had left. That little bitch. I knew not where I was bound to, whether into another asylum, poor home, or penitentiary. But I suppose my husband was going to put me into an insane asylum in Northampton, Massachusetts, for life. Because she had heard of the plan from one of her friends. Then they put her in a carriage with Theophilus, and the woman of the asylum mourned Elizabeth's departure. But Elizabeth thought of McFarland's betrayal. I had found the best man I had ever found, could do the worst act I had ever known. That's where we're ending today until the next part of Elizabeth's life. Woo!
That's sad. And then they made Theo come and get her. Or
I
like they made
know, like
Theo
they
show
couldn't just
up to take
send
her.
her.
Yeah. Like I would have been like, he don't gotta come. You're wasting your time.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
y'all are carrying me again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like no.
All the way.
Mm-hmm.
All the way to Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I feel so terrible. I mean, like though, even though like we're talking about like it is kind of on her too for being so trusting, but like it's hard to not feel bad for her. Like that sucks. Like
I do
that's
feel, but it's
terrible.
also like they lived in a different time. I feel like there was more trusting in those days. Anyway, what did you guys think of Elizabeth in her life, other than the fact that she should have made better decisions?
I've been a
It's
dumb bitch before,
depressing.
honestly, but I also get like wanting to have just like a glimpse of hope. Like, you want to
Anything.
believe in
Yeah.
humanity. You're like, this man controls my life and he seems to be on my side. So like maybe if I try to like voice this, he'll like let me out. But he's like, nah, fuck you. He let
Fuck
his
you,
fuck
bitch.
you.
It's kind of like, I don't know, like I don't want to say it hits home for me necessarily, but it's very relatable in the sense of, and obviously, Karina, you've known me for so long, that I have been in situations like that where like this person has told, you know what I mean, has really taken like manipulated me and controlled me and like not even just one like ex of mine, like there was like multiple where I was just like I said, those rose-colored glasses where I
Mm.
was just like like, oh, I need to be with my boyfriend 24/7. Sorry, I can't have friends.
Hmm.
Like, it was just, it's kind of crazy. Like, because now I'm like, I can go see my friends whenever I want to. So, but yeah, it's wild. It makes me feel sad. That's why I be crying in the ward because,
We all need friends too, like Elizabeth though. Like
yeah.
despite like all of the shit that she went through, she's like, I'm not gonna let it change who I am. I'm going to continue to be a bright light and I'm gonna continue to speak my mind. I'm just gonna be slick about it
Hmm.
because
Right.
like I'm gonna be here either way. There obviously is no way out right now, but I'm gonna find a way. But until then, I'm gonna keep bringing light to the other women here.
Exactly. Yeah. I did love that about her. I felt like she was really like inspirational.
She's a
Yeah.
Well,
girl's
and that
girl.
that that was another reason I picked her to talk about because I felt like I'd never heard of her. And I
Yeah,
was like, how have we never heard of her? She is a revolutionary. You know
she
what I
really
I
mean?
love
is.
how she words things.
Yeah,
Like the
it's so
way that
beautiful.
it is so like I want her to write all my essays. You know what I mean? Like,
I've I have so
Elizabeth.
much hope for her. I know I don't know the
I
end of the
know.
story yet, but I'm like, this
Listen,
girl,
when I know, you'll know.
I'm just
Just
like,
don't let
I
go.
hope she perseveres and like does get out of there or something like shitty happens to the doctor. That would
Or at
also,
least Theophilus.
And Theophilus
Oh,
too. Yeah, yeah.
oh, at
I
least,
I
yeah, for
will
sure.
actually give you guys this that Theophilus does lose his job being a
Good,
pastor.
good.
I
That's
want to
just
give you
good.
some good, like, good. Fuck him. Fuck
Fuck
Yeah.
him.
Theophilus.
You know
Yeah.
what? Fuck the potato looking motherfucker.
He does. He looks like a potato someone left out and it grew too many of those little vines.
Oh my
And then you're
gosh, yeah.
intimidated by its eyes. You're like, why does it have eyes?
Why is it looking into my soul? Okay, well, I have to eat dinner because I'm hungry.
You do that.
So, as always, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Sip and Saga Society. If you have any histories, mysteries, or stories you think should be told, feel free to DM us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube comment, literally anything
Do it.
at sipandsaga_society or visit our website at sipandsaga.com. I think it still exists. I will look at it again one day. So, thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
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 We're waving. You can't see it though.
I didn't know if we were going to put it on YouTube.
I don't know yet.